Hi, I'm Dr. Eric Westman with Adapt Your Life. A couple of my patients asked me about this new movie, The Game Changers, and they were concerned that there were some things in there that didn't go along with the keto lifestyle. So I watched it, and here's what I think. One of these patients who is concerned about it is an athlete and wondered, because the premise of the movie is basically athletes do better, higher, faster, and all that, seemingly just because of a plant-based diet, that he was all concerned. The main issue I have with the movie is that it's totally one-sided, totally biased. So you can find people who are athletes who do well eating a plant-based diet. That's great. It doesn't mean it's better than a non-plant-based diet for athletes. In fact, the world record holder for the 100-mile race, Zach Bitter, is a low-carb keto guy. So they don't mention it in The Game Changers because, again, on purpose, it's a biased view of what you can do if you're just a plant-based eater, which is, fine. It's a good premise. Very, high-tech, glitzy Hollywood movie. The producers and the writers have investment in companies that are plant-based products coming down the road. I wish they would have mentioned that. I had to figure that out by reading some of the critiques online. To get to my particular area of expertise, they make a couple kind of major errors. I mean, it's almost like not even medical student level errors. One is that you can only run your body on carbohydrate. This is just not true. You can run your body on fat, and fat is a major fuel, even when you're eating a mixed diet with carbohydrate, proteins, and fats. So the premise, there's a doctor interviewed saying you have to have carbohydrate for energy. Well, that's simply not true. And any health professional who works in a hospital has seen someone who doesn't eat for a few days. They're very sick, and they're fine. They're not eating carbohydrates. They're actually burning fat for fuel because we store fat on our body as fuel as humans. So that was kind of okay, wait a sec. They don't understand that it's okay to have fat for fuel. Again, it's a one-sided, biased point of view. On a keto diet, you run on fat for fuel. So that didn't make sense to me. The next level of just this is a basic error is that because gorillas eat plants, humans should eat plants. And because we have teeth that grind, we must be herbivores. Well, when you look inside in the intestines of a human, we have the intestines of a carnivore, not an herbivore or a gorilla or a cow. So it's not just about the teeth or what the image of what people and gorillas eat. It's what happens internally with the physiology and the digestion. The colon of human is much smaller than the colon of a gorilla. Just look this up and you can side by side look at the intestines of different types of animals. And humans actually have the intestines of a carnivore. Or you might say omnivore, but definitely not an herbivore. So it wasn't a doctor who said that, so I have to give some leeway to people who aren't doctors and they say that. But it was given with the level of credibility like a doctor had said it. So the historical questions, it was pretty compelling. The gladiator diet was vegetarian. Well, that didn't ring true because I know in the area of India, in Eurasia, the gladiators in that area, the warriors, actually were the meat eaters. So this is the Brahmin caste, the warrior caste in India, were the ones who ate meat. So maybe it's possible to be vegetarian and a meat eater, but to only present it like that was the only answer just didn't set right with me. The elite athletes, the movies that are in the keto world, if you haven't seen them, Serial Killers, that's C-E-R-E-A-L, not S-E-R-A-L, Serial Killers and Serial Killers 2, tell the stories of elite athletes actually winning races and running and rowing in a rowboat actually by not eating carbohydrates. So this isn't the only way to do it. And to be able to say one is better than another, you're really going to have to compare them side by side in the same people, ideally, or matched pretty closely. The whole segment on the young men who were given different meals and had different level of erections and all that, I hope you can just see through that. That had nothing to do with a long-term adaptation to eating a certain way. And that really kind of nailed it for me, that this is really not science. This is the art of persuasion to get you to think a certain way, and it's not really science. Now back to my wheelhouse. I've never met Carlton Esselstyn. He is at the Cleveland Clinic. He really hasn't published any primary research papers. He cites, and I think he works on the papers that Dean Ornish did. And Dean, best I can tell, did 2 papers. One of them, I have to give him credit for putting lifestyle on the map, but it's not the only lifestyle. And the paper that was cited, and he even cites it today, was published almost 30 years ago and had a very small number of people in it, I think about 50 people, and it really wouldn't meet the muster of the quality of evidence we would require today to say the same statements that he made. Sorry about that, Dean. Now David Katz is at Yale. I don't think he does any primary research. I just did not like the forceful way he said that this is just the best and it's best ever, hands down. That's just not true. That's not being a scientist. Walter Willett, a nutritional epidemiologist at Harvard, created the field of nutritional epidemiology. Until recently, they were the only ones with nutritional epidemiology data. Now, the PURE study, which has been done out of McMaster University in Ontario, they are known as the evidence-based medicine world renowned center of evidence-based medicine, is not finding the same findings that Walter Willett and Frank Hu and their group at Harvard has found. So there's going to be some controversy and saber rattling about the Harvard group's findings, because now there's another worldwide epidemiology study that's not finding the same thing. Now, I'm a clinical trialist. Dean Ornish might have 2 or 3 studies. There are now over 50 studies on low carb and low fat. They've mostly head-to-head. Never been best I can tell, never been a plant-based versus a keto diet. That'd be a great study. I want to help out with that. We have trouble getting funding for not only movies, but for clinical trials in the keto world. There are so many studies. If you go to the Public Health Collaboration of the UK, phcuk.org, that you can get the studies lined up in tabular form or in an infographic that low-fat diets can work, but low-carb diets work better. I think the latest score is like 31-0, that the low-carb diets work better. In the defense of the plant-based folks, those weren't the comparator groups for the low-carb, low-fat studies. So again, never a vegan, vegetarian versus keto study, to my knowledge. It needs to be done, I guess. The films in the keto world are not quite so slick, but The Magic Pill came out recently. Fat as a documentary, Fat, a documentary came out this year. And then Serial Killers 2, if you want to learn about athletic performance and keto diet. Again, I wish they'd been transparent, that they have a big interest in the fact that you eat vegetarian, because they're investing in the companies and the products that are vegetarian and vegan, the producers of the film are. And if Adapt Your Life, when my company gets money one day, I'm going to be putting it into education and research for the keto diet. Finally, the environmental concerns, we all have them, and it's not my bailiwick, but I can refer you to Peter Ballerstad, who has some great videos. You can YouTube them. It's called Ruminant Reality. And actually, there is not such a big concern when you look at the science about having cows around. And finally, a recent movie that kind of put it all together for me, called The Biggest Little Farm. This area of soil that was dead got rejuvenated and became this beautiful farm by putting in cow manure into the soil. So there's something about the bacteria that grows in the soil and all that. Again, that's beyond my medical expertise, but I can just refer you to people who have thought about that in a much greater way. So not to worry. If anything, maybe you can be a great athlete and live a great life as a vegetarian and vegan, but that's not the only way to do it, clearly. And anytime they said that this is the best, that just isn't the case. That's not a scientific statement, it's a promotion. I'm Dr. Eric Westman. I hope that's helpful.